He's gonna videotape us. We're already rolling right now. So how you been?
Dude, I'm fucking fixing my shoes over here.
Yeah, no, it's all right. We were videotaping you fixing your shoes. It's part of the experience, dude.
Where's the camera?
Right there, he's got it.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping you got him fixing his shoes. I've never had somebody fix their shoes right before.
To sit down?
Yeah, to sit down and do a podcast.
Yeah. They were loose and they were bugging me the whole way over here. So I just I didn't even know we were started, man.
No, do you need time?
No, I'm good.
Is that a tattoo?
Yeah.
When did you get a fucking tattoo?
The first one of many to come.
Did you get that when you went to LA?
No.
Oh, okay.
I got this right here. Boom.
It's for those listening. It's
by
he has a heart on his sleeve. Legitimate.
Yeah. By this guy Seth. He's great. Got it in Concord, Mass. Right before, a little shout out to Seth.
It just sounds like a very New England thing. A guy named Seth doing tattoos in the town of Concord.
I believe he's from Philadelphia or something, but he's a huge comedy fan. Happened to just work out, and he did this. I'm gonna be getting a couple more. I've wanted it forever.
I never pictured you as a tattoo guy.
Yeah, everyone says that, but.
Well, you always had a clean cut type thing, which I remember Zolo and I teasing you about one night, and you getting really mad, and then you got defensive, and I had to be like, "Hey, the more defensive you get, the more Don is gonna tease you about this."
I don't have any recollection of this.
No.
How long ago was it?
This was at Laugh Boston. This is before you moved out to California.
Okay.
Yeah, you went. You got to skateboarding now.
I did skateboarding the pandemic brought a lot of weird shit out of me. I don't know, but I feel
tattoos and skateboards.
No, I don't know. Did it do shit to you?
Oh yeah, dude. I moved to the woods in New Hampshire. I did fucking ayahuasca in the Amazon. I traveled to Colombia.
Have you talked about the ayahuasca?
Yeah. I've talked about it a lot. It was fun. It was.
Did you see the devil?
No, I saw God though.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I went to hell after. I didn't see the devil, but
just casually, I went to hell after.
No, I realized the devil and God were inside of me already, and it was just.
But isn't that a metaphor?
I got less of one and more of the other.
Yeah, I heard that when people do that, they see, like whatever that is. I don't know if it's the devil or what, and you can kind of go down either path.
Yeah, I got choices, but it was also if you have. Whatever shit you're jamming deep down inside, it's like when you got a big fucking drain clog, except it's your soul, and you gotta get this grease and hair out with you're just roto-rootering some childhood trauma.
Yeah, dude, I can. So I'll relate to that in a second. But don't you have to do it with what's the word I'm looking for? Like some guy.
Oh, I was staying with a shaman.
A shaman.
Yeah,
that's the word I'm looking
with
for.
A shaman.
Yeah,
you can. I recommend it. I wouldn't have wanted to do that on my own.
Yeah,
just rolling around and puking shit with no.
Oh, did you throw up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the process. You're not gonna get. For someone like coming from an industrial world, you're not gonna get through it without puking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking hate puking so much.
Yeah.
That might be a make or break for me.
If you're
fucked up, does it feel like when you're sick, that kind of puke, or since you're like having this experience?
Have you done hallucinogens?
No. I've never done a drug, unfortunately.
Well, that's not unfortunate. That's a good thing. You act like you managed to go through life with just being okay with who you are as a person.
Now that isn't true. That took a long time.
you no?
Yeah.
What, so you never? What was your escape? If you didn't have drugs, what did you use to?
I think that's where comedy comes in.
Yeah.
Truthfully, because when you were talking about doing ayahuasca and finding yourself and all that shit you push down.
Yeah.
Now, when the pandemic hit, at first it was like, what's going on? Everyone had that, will it be 2 weeks? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say after, all of a sudden, everyone was like, okay, this is going to be for a while. And when that moment came around, I started meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And I've meditated off and on my entire life. It's just helped when I've been super stressed and all this shit.
Yeah, you're one of the first people who recommended it to me.
I did? Okay.
Well, you told me that sometime you try and take time every day to just lay in your bed and just not be bothered by outside stimuli. And that was a great way of putting meditation for me, because for me, meditation was something you did in a fucking temple with Buddhist monks, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I only was able to meditate through mushrooms.
Interesting.
And a Tibetan bowl. So I wasn't able to have it. It took me a long time. I needed hallucinogens to be able to do it.
That's so interesting. Do you still do it?
I do it, but I can do it sober now. But initially I couldn't break through sober. I needed those to get me there.
Okay. Do you still drink?
No, I haven't.
So
I'm fully
it's just
sober
like
from alcohol.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when you started that. So will you still use mushrooms and stuff?
Yeah.
To have that experience?
I do. I like because I don't get to escape my problems on hallucinogens. In fact, I'm forced to face them.
Okay.
Alcohol lets me not deal with life.
Yeah, alcohol,
and that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, I got to take breaks from it, because like I'll go, and I've noticed as I get older too, I just feel so shitty for days. Like even if it's not a hangover, it's this inner thing.
Do you get anxiety? Hangover anxiety?
Oh, terrible. Like it's unbelievable, man. But it's new.
It is an age where it comes around. How old are you?
I turned 30 on last Wednesday.
I think 27 is when I started getting anxieties.
Yeah. There's something, I don't know, the blood that slows it down and whatever the heck
I think
happens,
it's being an adult with responsibilities and realizing the finiteness of life.
Yeah. But okay, so that kind of leads back to the meditation thing, because when you talk about life like that, I've always had this thing where you live once, okay? And I remember being in school, hated school so much, couldn't stand it. And I was like, there's so much more to life than this. And I always felt restricted in a class or whatever. And then there was just so many different versions of that, but school's like an early point. Then finally being able to start stand up, I'm like, okay, I'm getting to actually be a version of myself I want to be. And when the pandemic hit and I started not just periodically meditating, I did 20 days straight and felt this huge difference. And about 2 weeks in, I had like this crazy experience meditating one day, and it started to allow me to look at things differently.
What was this experience?
It was like, you know what? It's hard to explain, because it wasn't a feeling. It was like just more of an experience. Like I don't know if there's words.
I know exactly what you mean.
To it.
Did you feel like you were feeling something through your third eye? Because I know what that feels like. When you're not feeling something with your five senses, when you're feeling something with
it was exactly.
It's more of a sense of being than a feeling.
Exactly. Like more of you are opposed to exactly. And it was like my head just like shot up into outer space.
Yeah.
And I was looking down at everything, and I'm not on drugs or anything. I'm just meditating. And when I finished that session, I was like, what the fuck just happened? And which sounds like so weird to say.
Hey, well, this is the podcast for that stuff. I've said plenty of weird shit on here.
But I just started meditating and doing all this shit, and you couldn't do comedy, couldn't go anywhere, and I just like worked on myself. And all that inner shit from childhood and throughout this comedy experience, I just dove in and went through it all, and it has helped me tremendously. I think part of it is age too. As you get older, just don't let shit bother you. Yeah. And you can kind of become yourself more. But yeah, it takes a lot of energy and courage to be yourself, I feel.
Dude, it's also relieving when you finally get there.
Exactly.
I walked outside today in gym shorts with tube socks up to my knees, and I was going to like roll them down like I used to when I was younger, to be like, oh, geez, I should change my socks so I don't get made fun of. And then I was like, I'm a grown-ass man. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
I was like, I pulled those socks up all the way. went outside, scrubby as fuck, and I was like, oh, I just don't care.
Yeah, it's just being
so
you, and
nice.
It's easier once you can finally get
it's so
there.
nice. I mean, at a certain point, you gotta have like a reel it in. Otherwise, you become like one of those guys who doesn't showers. But you gotta.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There is a point of not caring where it gets gross, and you're like, dude, you gotta.
That's just not giving a fuck. You have to still care.
You have to care, but just be comfortable in your caring.
Right. And I remember one day I was in middle school or something, and my dad and I, it was the summer, we went to the convenience store. And he's like, do you want to go? I was like, sure. So we park, and I'm like, what do you need? And he gets out of the car to go in. I'm like, are you going in? And he's like, yeah. And he's wearing this just green shirt with holes in it, okay, covered in paint. And then he's got these like shorts, like shorts that are like t-shirt material for some reason. Okay, so he's wearing those and moccasins, and his shorts have holes in it. And I'm like, you're going in like that? And he goes, yeah, I don't give a shit. And I'm like, that's where you want to be in life.
Yeah.
Just fuck it. He's married. He's got kids. I don't give a shit.
It's a great mental state. I was just thinking about the other day about being in high school and junior high and lying about stuff. And lying about stuff just because I was afraid of being made fun of. I remember being like, how old was I? Man, I was probably like 13. And I was, on Saturdays, I would go down to this old convent. It was like a community center. And I'd play computer games, real-time strategy games with other kids from the neighborhood. And I remember walking there, and these other two kids from my class saw me. They go, hey, where you going? I'm holding like my sleeve of computer games, like CDs. Yeah. And I just lied. I go, oh, I'm just walking. And they go, you're just walking, Mike? Where you walking to? And you just around. Because I was so afraid that if I was like, I'm going to go play computer games and have fun all day with these other, they were going to be like, tell other people. And everyone's like, dude, Mike's a fucking nerd fag. Like, I was so, I remember lying. I had a GameCube, and my favorite game was Mario Sunshine. And
Sunshine.
Yeah, and I just lied and said I had a PS2 and I was playing GTA. I just lied because I was afraid of some weird like idea of being made fun of.
It sounds tougher than playing Sunshine. Maybe that's where it comes that you don't want to be.
Yeah. There was an extra level of something to it, extra level of pussiness to it. You know what it is? I've had this realization for myself where I think it's where I grew up and how I grew up, just in this area of the country in general. But I associate happiness with like femininity and gayness. Well, like I like my image of a man is someone who just drives a pickup truck, is angry, is ready to fight everyone on the road. He comes home and he's just angry around his wife and kids. And I picture a guy who can just let go of things and be happy, which is who I am now. But my whole life up until now, I realized subconsciously I associated that with like weakness, and I associated femininity and gayness with that weakness too.
But that's so East Coast.
Yeah.
To be like that.
Just be like, oh, what are you happy? Fucking homo.
Right. No, like legit, but that's like, you grew up getting called shit like that all the time.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, a person who like is actually like I think when you are angry and you keep that shit bottled in, like you're the bitch. Because you're not even tough enough to deal with your own feelings. Yeah. And then you can't even deal with yourself. And what about that is confident, cool, or anything? Like I think like if something that is way more tough is to like be the guy who can have emotion. Mm-hmm. That whole 80s thing of like, oh, the old ball and chain about like the wife and oh, my kids suck. Like, bro, I don't feel that. I'm getting married in November.
Congratulations, dude.
Because thanks, but it's like, this person's my friend and like I like chilling and I can't wait to have kids. And that whole fucking all the rules, like that shit, I think is just old. It doesn't exist anymore.
It is, and I'll say this. I remember. I'm in New York City and I'm selling weed to someone who's queer, non-binary, right, trans, and she goes, I remember we talk. I always talk with the people I would sell stuff to. I was lonely. I'd be like making friends. I'd be like, oh. They were like, oh, you're a comedian. I go, yeah. And well, what shows do you like? What comedians do you like? And I go, oh, growing up, I love Married with Children. And she goes, oh, that's that show about the guy who hates his life and his wife and just never does anything about it. And I'd never heard Al Bundy put in that way. Yeah. And then I thought about it and I wanted to be like, fuck you, you fucking pussy. Who are you? And then I thought, and I was like, no, like the person's right. Like I didn't like who was coming from. Like I was ready to be like, no. And I thought about it and I was like, why didn't Al just get a divorce or quit his job? Like Al's always like, my job sucks and my life sucks. Quit and leave and just go be. Why didn't you just leave and go to Mexico? Yeah. Like, wow, you don't have to be the shoe salesman. You can quit.
Right.
Like, if your wife sucks that much, leave her. Just leave her. And once your kids are adults, you don't have a reason to. But that's very much an old school mentality of my life sucks, and there's this martyrdom of I'm Christ on the cross and I suffer, and that's my burden. And
dude, I fell for that forever. First of all, I like how this. Whenever we talk, it just turns into this. Like, we haven't seen each other in a while. I got here, I didn't even know we started recording, and it just fucking feels good to be able to bounce into it, man.
Well, it's I figured you didn't need a setup, you know?
Yeah. No,
we've gone back. Matt and I used to do terrible shows in Worcester together. Horrible shows.
But that's some of my favorite shit.
Fondest memories?
Yeah. I love
some of those were good. No, I shouldn't. Some of those were good shows. Some of those were rough.
Yeah.
But Matt and I would work the door together and open. And I remember I had started before you. I remember watching you come up, and you were very likable.
Thanks.
And which was something I didn't have. I was not always a likable person, even when I wanted to be. And I also, which I can make friends with people, but I also have a demeanor that on stage I have to ingratiate people with me, because I would watch certain guys go on stage and go, that guy could tell a fucking Holocaust rape joke right now. And the audience would be like, oh. Yeah. But I would go up there and I just go, hi. And they're like, he's going to say something offensive. And they're like, they're on edge. They're waiting for me to call someone a cunt or say a racial slur. And I go, wait, give me like 10 minutes and I'll do it. But you know,
that's a hilarious.
But you put people at ease. So it was always fun following you.
I appreciate that, man.
Plus the waitresses liked you, you know. Yeah, everyone liked you.
I loved that place so much.
Yeah.
But you just made me think of something else too, because when you were talking about Al Bundy and like all that shit, there is that thing of you need to like hate what you're doing, and I had that for a while too, where you're like you feel like you want people to see your pain and sadness or whatever.
Yeah. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, and
really?
It was tricky because everyone would always be like, oh, Matt, you're so happy, you're so likable, like all this stuff, which now I can appreciate. But when I was younger, I was like, they don't get it. Like, they don't see who I actually am. And then people would always be like, you know, you hate your job, you hate this, like that's what life is. And when I was able to shed that, and a lot of the pandemic meditation and all that stuff for sure helped, I've finally, like, I love my life now, and I'm just turned 30. It took a while to get there, but I'm like, that's where you want to be. Like, feeling happy feels so good.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, those of you who aren't watching this, Matt looks like he's 24. All right, and obviously you don't drink. You drink, but you've never done drugs or smoked, and you're happy. So that means a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm on the opposite spectrum where I never talked about any of the pain I was going through. I shoved it inside and I hid it because I was taught, you don't fucking talk about that. All right, I was taught if you went to therapy, you're a pussy, or you're like, my mother would whisper, your uncle goes to a shrink. They would whisper it like there's something to be embarrassed or ashamed about. So I'd never, until the point where I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And then it fucking exploded out of me. And that's why I share it with people now and on stage and on the podcast, was because I spent a lifetime of hiding it and not talking about it till I couldn't function. Till I was like a big fucking constipated butthole.
Yeah, no, I get that, man, because as much as I can totally relate to that. Like, as much as I wanted people to know what I was actually feeling and going through when they thought everything was fine, like, I still wouldn't just throw on them like, this is, like, I'm depressed or whatever. But it did get to that point where I would try to just keep it in, and I started having these panic attacks and like this OCD mayhem, and I started doing therapy and all that, and that I was like 23 for that, and that was like the first time where I was like actually working on helping myself. And when you can get to that point and start doing that, I think that's also, it's just it just takes strength and shit to do that, and then you end up being happier. And the whole point, like, you want to create a happy life, and this whole thing that like you have to be miserable is insane.
No, you don't. I live in a small town in New Hampshire now, and everyone's like a construction guy, carpenter, and I get it. You work hot fucking jobs. You're out in the elements in the hot sunny days, in the cold winter days, getting blasted by wind, and you work a lot, and shit's fucking expensive. But everyone is just like, I'm always like driving behind or in front of someone in a big pickup truck in my little fucking shitty Honda Civic. And whenever we pull into a place, they're just so fucking, they walk out just like, oh, just ready to just like, and I'm like, dude, fucking chill. Everyone's mean mugging, and I'm like, I'm not going to fight you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go be happy, you fucking prick.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, and it's very much it's so different from other places I've been to and cultures I've been to, and it's very much an American, especially a Northeastern thing of, and it's like, being filled with anger is not the equivalent of being a man.
Right, for sure. And I think people know that now.
Not a lot of them don't, man. I'd say many of them don't.
Well, I'm saying, like, I feel like younger people get that.
Yeah.
You know, as annoying as they can be. I feel like.
Yeah, well, there's a give and take to every generation.
Yeah.
Right? As much as people want to shit on the younger generation, it's the fault of the people that raised them. Right? If your parents were crackheads and you came out fucked up, well, eventually you have to make a change, but it's on your parents for raising you in a shitty way.
Yeah.
So whenever people shit on younger generations, especially boomers, I'm like, you raised them, dude. You made the mess. So it's on you. You weren't there. You were off getting drunk and buying boats and
buying boats. Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
I mean, it is. You'd think. Here's my beef with the boomers is that.
That's the name of his memoir.
That's
the boomers.
That's my first comedy album. They're the worst. I definitely have a beef with boomers, and that's that they sit around, and I guess I'm complaining about them, but they're filled with like rage and grumpiness and and this and that. But at the same time, like, guys, you are the most privileged generation in all of human history. You grew up after the end of 2 world wars, when all of Western civilization was destroyed, rebuilt, and you could get jobs, you could make money, you could literally work your way up from a fucking fast food job into like a middle class lifestyle. Getting a union job, if you only had, and you know, you'd buy a home. People were buying second homes. Just as like carpenters and electricians, okay? Right. You'd have a city job, work construction, and you'd own a home in a lake house. And then they'd spend all their money on buying skidoos and boats and just be drunk and never be a parent to your kid, never talk to your kids. And then in the day, be like, what the fuck's up with my kids? Why are they like that? And then bitch and moan. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you've been drunk your whole fucking life. What do you expect? The world. They kind of have this attitude that the world just went haywire, and I go, I know it went haywire. you didn't try and mold it.
Yeah.
You just let it run its course as if you weren't a part of it, as if you didn't have a responsibility to it.
All that stuff is so interesting, just different generations. But it kind of all repeats itself in some way, shape, or form, you know? It gets everyone super uptight, don't say this, don't do that. And then the next generation comes in and they're like, fuck it, let's do this, let's be independent, make money. And then it's such a cycle.
But I'm a believer that time is cyclical, right? I think that our view of progress is based on the idea of time being linear. That is forever just a line going out into the distance. And as time goes on, we will always get better and will progress more, when in reality, time is viewed, at least in the East, as cyclical. And that civilizations rise, they fall, and it's not linear because we go through dark ages.
Right.
Sometimes knowledge is forgotten, and everything we're going through now, we've been through it. Everyone's like, oh man, the French Revolution was an extremely they were abolishing private property. This was ideas of women and men. They were burning down churches. This was what we would consider an extremely left-wing movement by today's standards. And that was 200 years ago. Right. So we just forget that whatever we're going through has happened before. And
the biggest thing, everyone is just people, and they're just trying their best at it. And I think people get lost in that, and they don't realize it, and they especially in the US, it's very easy to identify yourself and your personality with other people's ideologies of life. Mm-hmm. So then you start representing yourself as this thing or this point of view, opposed to just being able to see something for what it is. And it all comes at you through this filter of opinions. And then when you can shed that and just look at something for what it is, I think that also fucking helps. No,
it's true. I think I
just blacked out for a second.
It's very... you're on point, and I notice it when... I know I'm getting into groupthink too much when someone I don't like says something I agree with, but I'm hesitant to agree with them because I don't like them and what they represent.
Yeah, right? See, that's exactly.
And I have to cool it down. I'm like, all right. Don't be that dude.
Yeah.
All right. I know you don't like this woke person with green hair, but you both agree on something. You both agree on maternity leave. So will you just kind of go against your principles because someone else you kind of view as the other,
right,
is against what is for what you're also for?
Yeah. Hey, are you still living in the woods?
Yeah.
In New Hampshire?
Yeah.
You think it's better for you?
So I kind of had this realization recently. It is and it isn't. It was very much necessary because I've never I've gone to the woods. I've gone with my family to be away for periods of time, but never more than a week.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Southie in the city.
Oh, okay.
In Boston. Yeah. And that's where my parents were born, my grandparents, and even a couple of my great-grandparents. So all of my family are city people.
Cool.
I've except for one cousin who lives in this small town, and she was born in the Southie and then left.
Okay.
So everyone I know, I didn't have a reference point for non-city life, and then the cities have changed. The cities used to be immigrant neighborhoods and industrial, and now they are all gentrified, and that's almost every American city. So there's been a massive shift. And I go, oh, can I do this? Can I live this lifestyle?
Right.
And then I liked it, and I liked being in nature. And it was definitely good for me to hike and the quiet, especially because I was in New York for a couple of years,
right,
and I was really starting to. I was making myself suffer under the idea of it's for comedy. I'm suffering for my dream, and it's part of it. Yeah, I know you're just eating Spam and ramen noodles, Mike, and one of your roommates just went to a psych ward, and you live in the hood, and you're going to watch someone get beat up at the train station today, and someone's going to take a shit in front of you on the 3 a.m. train home, and you're going to go fucking shoplift to get some extra food, and I'm being like, it's all part of it, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I realized I don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
And that was such a giant thing for me to go, I don't have to live like this. I can have some space. Though at times, being out there, I have become antisocial, and I've had to catch myself. I've had to catch myself that if my interactions with people are through the internet, then I'm going to have horrible interactions with people.
Yeah.
And I was like, as I'm making content, I can feel myself like I'm a people person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to walk this line of how do I have nature, which I need, because I'm like just coming back here, I start to get like my anger starts to boil up, and that's something I can keep a lid on.
Coming back where?
In Boston.
Oh,
dude,
right.
just driving here, being stuck in traffic, and I could feel myself starting to go. I can hear a voice in the back of my head going, "This fucking sucks. People fucking suck." Because I'm just watching people on the road being selfish and ignorant, cutting people off. Just I watch this dude to just pull out of his driveway and block an entire lane of traffic that he didn't need to do.
Yeah.
Just because, fuck you. And I go, all right, see, I don't like this. I'm tired of that aspect. But I do, if I want to, my comedy has to be better, I need to be around people. My comedy develops as I'm around people. Yeah. I'm a better person when I'm around people. So I kind of had this realization after I've been up here for 2 years, and I go, oh, COVID for the most part is over. Even in the places that have been holding on to it. It's been over for me, it's been over for a while. And I had to go, oh, it's time to move on. Yeah. Like I had that epiphany where all right, this was a period of your life and it's time to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Have you noticed a difference with people too at comedy shows? Yeah, for the weekends, for the last, I would say maybe 2.5, maybe 3 months. Every weekend show I've done, except for about 2, have been sold out.
Really?
It's just like everyone wants to get back out and have a good time. And I just have noticed that energy from people.
I've noticed a different energy in shows. So I was doing some shows in Providence, and the late night Friday crowd was amazing. The early Friday crowd was drunk and fucking ignorant. Mm-hmm. And there was like some of them are opposite. There's definitely I don't know how to explain it. Some of the people coming in just weren't into it, and then some were, depending on the show. It's kind of I don't know what it is. Like it has been good that some of the shows are people who definitely want to be there. Yeah. What you're not getting are the random traffic like you used to. Mm-hmm. Like, you know how you'd have people just go, hey, I want to go out and do something tonight. Now, if the people come, they are into comedy, which is better, which is good, but you're not getting someone who might be new to that situation in the shows I've been doing.
Yeah, I can see that. I also feel like there's been some like hammered people at shows too.
There's a lot of people who forgot how to fucking act.
Yeah, but I've noticed that, like, it's weird that you said that, like, at early shows. It's so weird. It's like the late night shows, those people have their shit together more, and it used to be
it's the complete
opposite.
Inverse.
Yeah.
It makes no fucking sense. I've had great Thursday shows.
Yes, I agree.
And then the same club, when it comes around time for Friday or Saturday, they're like, meh. And I go, why is Thursday? Yeah. Thursday's supposed to suck. Yeah. What is going on here?
Well, dude, I think Thursday and Saturday are the best nights for comedy in the week. Just personal opinion.
I hate Fridays.
Friday, I feel like it's the end of their work week, and they like need to go do a thing. So they're out, and especially if it is that early show, they're rushing from work and dinner, like all that crap. And it seems more of like a chore, and they're like, we have to have fun. But Thursday, I feel like they're choosing to go out. They have work the next day, but they're like, fuck it, we're going to have a good time.
They haven't had time for their brains to shut off work. They haven't had, because you leave work, you're still in that stressed out anxiety mode. They're far more combative. Because on Saturday, they just go, hey, we're going to go and have some fun.
Yeah, Saturday
decompress.
Hands down the best.
And then Friday, especially, so many places I've gone to are having like 7 p.m. shows, 7:30 shows, and I go, dude, as someone who's worked, jobs where you get out maybe at 5 or 6, I just have time to go home and shower and then get here barely on time for you to shove me in my seat.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, comedy. And you don't have. I'm barely ready for it as a comedian. Never mind the audience.
And then they're still eating, and then like by the time the feature's like halfway through, then they're like, we're at a fucking show.
Yes.
And they've had a few drinks, everything on top of that, and then it's just good night. But
so you went out to California.
Mm-hmm.
How did you like California, and what did you think of the shows out there?
I loved it. Dude, I gotta be honest with you. It changed. It absolutely.
And you were in Los
changed
Angeles.
My life. Yeah, I was.
You liked L.A.
Parts of it. Don't worry, because that's life, man. It's yin and yang. As when there's something fucking awesome, you do have other horrible shit. So like, as good as it was, there were things that sucked, but the good things were just great, man.
What were the good things?
Just having the opportunity, first of all, outside of comedy, weather. It was perfect every day.
Yeah.
It was insane. I went to the beach all the time. Everyone looks good. They're just like, the guys and the women, like everyone just looks fuckable just constantly. And
if you go to LA, you might become bisexual.
You're just like, everyone's just like chilling, and there's just like a vibe in the air that like you have to say vibe for, like, you know what, like,
I know what you mean, the energy of the people in the community around you,
and that's fun. And there's so many, just, you can be your true self for real, which is ironic because so many people are fake out there. But you'd have that space to like just express yourself with art and everything. But having the opportunity to like perform at the Comedy Store and just go in and do that and be like, Richard Pryor stood right here, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Ellen, fucking you name it, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and then you're on stage doing a set and fucking Burr walks in, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? And it is just the best, because like you could be most of the shows I did were like in the belly room. I got to do the original room like a handful of times, but I'd be up in the belly room doing a set, and someone pointed out to me one night, like, you're up there doing your show, and then below you is like Joe Rogan and Whitney Cummings on the two other stages, and you're upstairs and you're a part of that night. There's 3 people on stage at a time, and you're one of them there, and it's part of that experience. And that shit was the fucking best, man.
Yeah, I know that feeling from New York City, because I have a love-hate relationship with New York. And one of the things that was amazing was it did have a feeling of an artistic vibe to it. When you went into the city, there was a creative vibe to the city. Right. A feeling of people create stuff here.
Yes.
All right. There are dreams here. There is an energy here to make something. And as much as there is like that grating, the city does grate you, there is something else there, an energy of creation. And this is what I like so much. You be in Manhattan, you're walking around skyscrapers where clearly the sky is the limit, literally. And then you walk into a room and, oh shit, there's Dave Attell. You run into and it becomes a tangible, because when you're in a small town or a small comedy scene and you think about someone who's you think about a big name, that dream just seems way out there in the ether. It doesn't seem real. They don't seem real. Hollywood isn't real. The industry isn't real. And then you go there and you go, oh, this is real because it's right fucking in front of me.
Exactly.
I'm watching them right now.
And dude, the amount of nights where I'm at the store, and I would end almost every night there. Like after doing sets around town, I would just go to the store because everyone would like chill there. And the nights of maybe doing a setup in the belly room and coming down to the hallway. Have you been to this store?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you know that main hallway?
I do.
And then it leads off to like the OR, the main. So everyone chills back there before they go up. So the nights where I'm in that hallway and all of a sudden you're in a conversation with like Ron White and all these people, it's like I'm talking to my heroes.
Yeah.
And that shit keeps you going, and just being, sorry, I just kicked you, being around that energy in those comics and seeing what they do, I think is very beneficial as well.
Yeah,
because you go, this is how they handle 15 people at 12 o'clock at night, and seeing that is great. Plus the energy of the other comics and like people who I became friends with there, they want it as much as you do. So then you have these circles of people where it's not like a hobby or something. It's like what they eat and breathe. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're hanging out at diners till 2 a.m, going over bits and working on stuff. And hey, let's do this podcast. Let's work on this sketch. Let's write. Tomorrow, let's hit 5 mics, and you can literally do that. And then we'll do our show at the back room at the Improv, and let's see how many of those bits work. And like being around that was great. And I just feel like my time there, I learned so much for comedy and business. At some point, probably, but LA is super weird right now, too.
And
just
how it's been weird all along. But they got. I know California took COVID to the fucking extreme.
Well, I just mean like crime right now. My friends out there, their cars are getting broken into constantly. Mail's getting stolen from their apartments. Like, it's just a lot. But I think it's just not the same. But I think it'll bounce back.
I've heard the same exact thing about New York City.
Yeah.
And because look, here's the thing. I'm willing to put up with crime as a dude who grew up in the city, who grew up in Boston before it was safe Boston.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to that. But I'm willing to put up with it if my rent is cheaper and the cost of goods are cheaper.
Right.
And I have a community in my neighborhood. But if all the stuff I like isn't there and it's still expensive and I gotta have to worry about someone stabbing me on the subway, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Because I keep hearing about comics who take the subway, and it's usually a particular type of comic. They're smaller, more nerdy guys. They look like easy marks. But I heard about, I don't know if this Joe List had a problem on the subway. Some other comics, was watching a comic I know talk about someone spit in his face while he's waiting for a train.
That's terrifying.
I've heard a bunch of stories about comics getting beat up, having shit thrown on them, spit on, pissed on, jumped on the train on the because the homeless are completely out of control and there is no enforcement to clean it up. There's like, no, we're not doing anything.
That's shit's wild.
If it's anything like Boston, I know the BPD is kind of like we're hands off now. After 2020, they're just like, well, fuck you, we're not going to do anything. And so there's definitely part of it. Also, I think it's weird to think that you can shut down society for 2 years and then expect it to come back normally.
Right away. Yeah, that's a good point. But I don't know. I think also so much shit has changed with TikTok and all this stuff, like you can create a following and then through that people can find you, obviously, and managers. So you don't have to necessarily live in New York and LA anymore.
No, you don't.
And you don't have to be in the hotbeds to be a part of it.
In fact, when I was in New York City, I was so focused on staying, like, just living, just paying rent and paying bills and eating and just like life stuff of just, and spending, I'd have to allocate at least 3 hours a day to travel. Being underground, waiting for trains, just being on trains. And I realized the amount of, sometimes 4 hours a day. And I go, the amount of time I spend underground, not seeing the sun.
Yeah.
Just breathing in this weird dirt air of these weird, gross lights in this claustrophobic environment like a mole man, and just to get around. And I go, that's a lot. And I go, it definitely takes a toll on you. And I realized, I don't necessarily need to do this. And with social media, I spent so much time doing that, just trying to survive. My social media in New York sucked. It was terrible because I was so focused on the stand-up, I wasn't paying attention to that. I didn't create the podcast or get my social media numbers up till I left the city.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that too. when I left, same thing. It's like there is that relief of, I don't know, it's just different outside of the city, I guess is the easiest way to do it. And you have more energy to put it towards your career.
Yeah, instead of the stress of just existing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Alex Papa said to me the other day where we were working on a pilot, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we'll have a meeting. We'll talk about it over my place. We don't have to go to a restaurant because, as you know, it costs, as they say, it's $30 an hour just to be outside. Because like if you're gonna go do something outside in the city, it's gonna cost you money. Just anything costs money. You go out to have a snack, and you're like, did I just spend what I fucking think I spent?
Yeah.
Like, I get blown away even in New Hampshire. How everything I cook at home and all that, and I go, dude, it's fucking expensive to exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to thrive, just to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have kids.
Yeah,
right. I can't imagine having a kid. Never mind like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, I know. It is. I don't know. That shit is a whole other can of worms.
Well, I mean, I think that's when most people get their stress and their anger. We were talking about people being pent up. I think most of it is. Most relationships end over fighting around finances. Most marriages end over financial issues that snowball into bigger issues.
I can believe that.
And so how many relationships and things would work out, or parents would be better parents if they could just afford to exist.
Yeah.
That time that they're worried about paying bills, they're actually concentrated on their kids' I don't know, ballet recital.
Mm-hmm. Dude, before I forget, when you're talking about New York, are you still trying to go back and forth as much as you can? Or?
I haven't been back. Right. I'm going to plan a trip now, but I've realized that there were certain aspects to stand-up that I'm kind of cool without, right? Gotcha. Like there's certain stuff of so it is. I always describe New York as a place where everyone goes to try and be themselves by acting like everyone else. I was amazed the amount of people who thought they were being unique by all being hipsters or acting like each other.
Right.
I'm like, there's nothing unique about you. Everyone in Brooklyn looks and dresses and thinks like you. You're all exactly the fucking same. And at the same time, I for the most part was being me, but there are aspects of me that I was nerfing. There were parts of me where I was kind of being phony, and I didn't like that. And I noticed it once I got out of it, where I'm like, I'm not being honest about how I think about certain things. And I'm continually biting my tongue in front of people when I want to just turn to them and go, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, shut up. Like, and I can let it usually go, but at a certain point, if I'm exposed to that on a daily basis, over and over and over again, and there's a part of it that I don't miss, where I've realized, all right, I'm going to keep doing what I do, without having to do this stuff that I really think takes away from me as a person. Yeah,
absolutely. There is definitely that, because there's so much, everyone's trying to do the same thing, so a lot of people become like the same person.
Yeah.
So I hear you on that, but it is also like, I'm sure you've created relationships and stuff out there that have helped you.
Absolutely. No, without a doubt. I'm grateful for my time spent there. It was an evolving time. And if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have come to my realizations on the other side. But it was also, it was real fucking lonely.
Yeah.
It was a lonely existence. It was a very lonely existence. And it wasn't something I was ready for, because I grew up never not having my family within a block radius of me, where I can walk to my cousin 3 houses down, where I know the people since I grew up with over here. And being in a city where I didn't have a community, like it wasn't like I was living in like I wanted to move to this Irish immigrant community, but it was in the ass end of Brooklyn, of the Bronx. It would have been too far for me to make comedy work.
Gotcha.
And I just felt completely alone. So I just stuck my dick in anything I could, for a long time.
Sewers, exhaust.
Every fucking, just carve a hole, rats.
Rats.
Whatever I can find.
Must have been easy to find. But yeah, no, I hear you. I can relate with, that is one thing though, like going to these other cities, you do create these relationships with people who are like, you know, they're really in it like you, and you can relate to that, and keeping those friendships going I'm really focused on, because moments can get lonely when you are searching for this, and then you have nights when you're with people and it kind of brings this friendship to another level, and it becomes more than just business.
Exactly.
And things like that,
especially if you're on the road with something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've had that with my friends James and Gina, and they're both farther ahead in comedy than me, and we have talks about spirituality, and James helped me out of something the other day where I was like, he was telling me, he's like, look, if you're going to do this and being creative or whatever, he was using a reference a businessman said, where he goes, you don't allow the negativity in your mind. He goes, if either you're in and you're doing it, or you're not. Because the second you start having that little bit of, what if this doesn't work? What if? He goes, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
Derailed.
Yep.
That is true. And I mentioned something to him about, well, yeah, it's the burn your ships mentality is how I look at it. And I lost track of that. And that's something that I, really I've lived by, especially recently. That's what getting out of the city taught me is, so this guy's a cunt. Like the person I'm going to reference from history who I think of now, Hernan Cortez, because, he's pretty much a brutal conquistador. But Cortez was a Spaniard who left Cuba and without the authorization of the Spanish crown, conquered the Aztecs. With a few hundred men, he landed in Mexico, burned his ships so they couldn't leave. He goes, there is no option for going back. You either do this or we all fucking die. And then rallied the natives who were enemies of the Aztecs, conquered an entire fucking empire, right? Just this little, like there's nobody, and it was because he said, we're not doing this. All right? Horrible dude, but a very good motivational example. Because in reality,
horrible dude, but so motivated.
But
That's
it is like he wouldn't have been able to do that if he had any doubt in his head. Right. He would have gone back to the ships. Yeah. There was no exit strategy.
Right.
There was no backup plan. There was no plan B, because I realized during COVID my plan B fell through. My other job, and then I go, so there is no plan B for me anymore. There is plan A, and that's the only plan.
Yeah.
And
I think you got to live in that just one. I think the mind's very powerful. If you say this is life, like that is what your life will be. You obviously have to put work and some knowledge into it. But I'm right there with you. You can't have that. Well, if it doesn't pan out, you cannot have that.
It can't exist in your mind.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will dominate. It will dominate the positivity.
And, I mean, a human being is going to have doubts. Like, that's just a part of it.
And you just meditate them away.
Yeah.
Or what I like to do is I yell them away.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not meditating enough, I do it in the city. It's awful. Yeah. I'll have like a thought come into my head and I go, ah!
Yeah.
And I literally yell.
Like you see that echo? That was
I literally yell if I'm if I'm in the car and I go like I go, oh man, I've done it with roommates, and they're like, you all right? And I go, yep, just working out some kinks.
Yeah, working out some kinks.
Yeah, just getting that thing out of my head. It's when you have that mentality, it's similar to when you have a shitty relationship with someone. You ever get horny or high and you text someone who's bad for you? I've done that where I just go, what if, hey. And I know I'm being a fraud. I'm going, hey, we should still, fuck around. And I go look down at my dick and go, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
All right. These ships are burned. We're not going to open up this Pandora's box again. We got out of this.
Exactly.
You're out of this.
That's where you just run in the bathroom and jerk off, and then you're like, oh, okay. And you can think, you're like, wait a second. What? I almost texted my aunt? Or whatever,
I recently had that thought of before I was ever go with women, sometimes I just fuck hookers, right? Like I go on Backpage, I get a prostitute.
Really? That's fucking epic. Right?
Yeah.
They shut all that down, right?
They did. There used to be a website you go to called the Erotic Review, which was Yelp for hookers. And I go there and I'd read the other reviews. And And
amazing.
sometimes I'd call a girl, and I'm not the only one. I've talked to other guys who've done this, where I'd call a girl and I'd be like, all right, come over. I'm going to go meet you. And then I'd spank one out and go, oh, fuck, what am I doing, Mike? And I had to call and be like, hey. And they're like, fuck you, motherfucker. What do you... I just set aside time. I was just got in my car and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I had a friend, I'm not going to say who it is, friend of the podcast, who would call him up and then they'd be banging on his apartment door, and he would just he'd have hookers banging on his door.
Oh my God!
And he'd just be in his room hiding under his blankets, and I'm like, dude, you didn't call and cancel. You like let him come, and he's like,
And then they know where you live too. God damn!
It was like, oh man, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Because there'd be times where I'd be like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
As soon as I get that out of my system, I go, oh man, what are we doing, Mike?
Dude, I think that clogged so much. There was one night, I was just like stressed and like pent up. Okay, let one go. The second I finished, in my head a bit that I did like 5 years ago, shot into my head, and I was like, oh my God! And I went out and I wrote, and I completely changed the bit, and now it's a part of my set. And I'm like, I swear you need to just release the demons sometimes, and then your brain just figures out some shit.
My best like bits are written after I ruthlessly anger fuck a woman. That's when it, dude. What happens is like sometimes, especially when I was working out and my testosterone would get up, and a hand job, like a rubbing one out, wouldn't do it. I'd call someone over and I would go medieval on him, and
he's dressed as a knight.
And I'd hit him with a mace, and just absolutely like just primal, just getting it out of my system. And then once I was done, once I got every bit of nut out of me, I would roll over and I would have this clarity, and I would have to like tell like whoever I was with was someone I was cool with because they wanted me to do this to them, and I go, hey, and I start giggling, and they go, what? I go, that's not you. I'm writing, and I'd have to be like, hey, so I know this is weird, but after I come, I have this moment of pure clarity where bits and jokes come to me, and then I pull out my phone, I start writing them down in my notes, and there would just be. For like 5 minutes, my brain was just like laser beams, like everything was clear, and things would come to me, and it baffled me that it would take this for me to get there. Yeah, that I would just have to pulverize some poor woman to get just to get the demon inside me out. Like when the animal came out, and the higher man could finally just live like without his like Dr. Jekyll on his back. Excuse me, Mr. Hyde would leave, and Dr. Jekyll could be constructive for a change. And it's funny to me that in all my quests for deep knowledge and stuff, sometimes I get there on the quest, and sometimes it's the most ridiculous shit. One of my biggest epiphanies I just had the other day. So, have you ever seen the movie Memento?
I saw that a very long time ago.
All right, so I'm going to spoil it for the listeners.
It's like in reverse or something, right?
So the movie is about a guy who, the plot is that he's trying to find the guy who killed his wife. Right. Broke into his house, hit him in the head, memory loss, and then he's trying to find the guy who raped and killed his wife. Problem is, the guy can only remember for short periods of time, like 7 to 14 minutes at a time. So in order to continually go on his quest.
I remember this. Yeah.
He covers himself with tattoos. Right. And he writes stuff. Wherever he is, he has napkins and notebooks and papers. So he is continually like coming into a consciousness. He's having a big bang of consciousness and then going, who am I? Where am I? And he has his old memories, right? Like up until that event. And then he has to go, well, what am I doing in this hotel room? Right. He goes, oh, look, I'm chasing a guy. And he goes, oh, no, this guy's chasing me. And he goes, whose clothes am I wearing? What? And so he has to look, and he has all these Polaroids that they say, don't trust this guy, trust this person, don't trust that woman. And he has tattoos, don't answer the phone. And they're all clues. I had this realization that I believe that that's what humanity is that our generations. There are continually generations being born. And the fucking flaw of humanity is that we can't retain the lessons that we learned 2,000 years ago. We are continually relearning lessons about life and depression and relationships and marriage and happiness over and over and over again. If we just had these long-lived creatures with a permanent memory span that we could pass on to our children, we wouldn't have to deal with this.
Right.
There'd be no more war. But every time a new generation comes and they get brainwashed and the same shit repeats, the same errors, the same problems, and we're stuck reading just as that character's reading tattoos, we're reading old texts and we're trying to figure out what this guy meant. And in the movie, eventually, he kills the guy. And now in order to find purpose, he's leaving himself wrong tattoos and wrong clues to kill other people just so he can have a reason to exist. Right. And I go, how many times have we looked at the Bible or ancient scripts or ancient texts or even stuff from 100, 200 years ago? We don't know exactly, just as he didn't know what he was thinking in that moment, we don't know what our ancestors were thinking. And we're stuck trying to figure out stuff. Is this right? Is it wrong? And I thought this was very deep for me to come up with. I came up with this while I was washing shit out of my ass crack.
Yeah.
I took a dump.
No other distractions.
I took a dump, and if I'm at home, I don't use toilet paper. I go in the shower, I take the nozzle, I give myself a spray, clean. That's how I like to be, all right? I don't, toilet paper is just sandpaper on my ass. I'm not doing that. And I took it off, and I'm spraying in my ass, right? I'm bent over, I get the nozzle, I'm spraying, like a couple Hershey Kisses fall down, hit, and just as they hit the shower floor, I go, oh, memento. And just like that, I was like, oh man. And it didn't take ayahuasca, it didn't take mushrooms, it didn't take meditation. It took a clean ass is what it took, Matt.
But you know what? There's a deep lesson behind that besides what was in your ass is like it's the silence, you know? Yeah. I think that's where a lot of it is because for myself, I found trying to go, what do I need to learn? What do I have to figure out? What is this? What all this stuff? But I feel like the real thing is forgetting a lot of stuff that you've learned because I feel like society can put all these ideas and things on you, okay? And then you start mixing that up with what the answers, in quotes, actually are. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a big part of, you know, life and becoming yourself and realizing stuff like that is just unlearning things and shedding the noise and the ideas and all that stuff. So someone once told me that silent and listen are spelt with the same letters. And I think that in silence you actually already have, if you listen, you actually already have all those answers. Like you said that we've learned over time and we forget. I really think if you can get to that point in silence in your consciousness, you already have all the answers. But it's just being able to drown out all the other shit.
That's why I hike, because there's absolutely nothing to get in the way. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be on my phone. I just have to. I just have to just think.
Yeah.
Just sit there and think.
I get that, man. It's
which something I have to learn to do in the city because it's tough for me to do when I'm on a subway and someone's waving their dick in front of my face. You know, it can be distracting.
Then you just get hungry.
Yeah, and I just. So you said you're getting married?
Yeah, November.
You excited?
I'm pumped, man. I really am.
How long have you been with your girl?
10 years. We just had our 10-year anniversary.
You've been together monogamous for 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You can hear a pin drop.
No, dude, I'm not against it. God knows. Like, I've been a man whore for a long time, and some of it was good, and some of it was not good. Mm-hmm. I'm very upfront about that. I don't... Because I also have this thing where every other comic still assumes that I'm just like what I used to be, like this fucking hornball. And I'm not. I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
And... Yeah. No, I've I met a girl I liked, and then I tried to bang someone else to like get it out of my system, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. When I came back from the jungle, I tried to get like What?
Just that fucking sentence. I came back from the jungle.
I came back from the jungle.
That was weird. That was hilarious.
First thing I did when I got to the city, I went to Medellin. I go, I'm gonna get my fucking dick sucked right away. I was like, because I didn't masturbate, so I got a fucking monster load, and I go, I'm gonna get me a whore and get this out, and I did, and I got a physical release, but not like a spiritual release. And I go, fuck, it's over. Yeah. It's over for me. I can only do it if I get both. Otherwise, it's like trying to eat an Oreo and you don't get the full Oreo. I just got the top of the Oreo. Yeah. And I go, what is this? And I hit that point and I go, oh shit, that part of you is over. Now you just you meet a person, you're happy. And sometimes, dude, so last night I had a very attractive girl at the show who was like, come drink with me. And I was like, no, because I didn't like her personality. She was kind of like, her mom was talking to me. It was really kind of weird. And she was, I was like, younger me would have been like, this is an attractive woman. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. But older me is like, I'm not into like you. Right. As a person.
Yes. I hear you.
So, and my dick doesn't have that control over me anymore. Mm-hmm. He's shut up. He's like in the back seat, just trying to backseat drive, and I'm like, shut up. Yep. It's like, you know what it is? The whole time I've been like me driving the limo, my dick is in the back seat going, take her right up here. Take her right up here on back page, bitch. Like he controlled my whole life. Like I would be planning a trip and I go, and my dick's like, where are we gonna go? And I go, Latvia? And he goes, there's no good-looking bitches in Latvia. You're going to Puerto Rico. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. He's like, shut up, bitch. And then eventually I realized I have this button to make the window go up, and I'm going to listen to him anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Having those moments are key to go, okay.
I'm always, interested in talking to someone who figured that out a decade before me, because you just found someone you were happy.
Yeah, and I had no intentions of like dating anybody, seriously. And I was single, young, and like, just going, hanging out, parties, just like whatever the fuck, And my sister actually said, my friend has a younger sister. I think you guys would be perfect.
You were like, how young?
Yeah. Well, like around my age, because my sister's older. Okay, and. She was like, I think that you guys would be great. And I was like, no. And long story short, I said to my sister, I said, I'm going to go on one date, so you shut up. Because like, it was so annoying. And we went on one date and have been together ever since.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm very supportive of that, is that I think I've made this mistake, right? But I've also, I think it's worked out right. But I see a lot of people making this mistake. Is that there are so many options. When I go on Tinder and all these dating apps and you just look out at the world and there's so many women and there's this idea, and women do this to men too, of, well, this is good and I like this person and they make me happy and it's great, but there's going to be something better out here. I feel like so many people, especially young people, are caught up in this. There's going to be someone better. There's going to be someone better. Mm-hmm. So they tank shit that they don't need to tank.
Yeah, people do that with plans now. Yeah. Because they want to do the better plan. They're like, people don't even want to commit to doing something. Like, do you want to do this, Thursday at 5? You're like, sure, but, and then you have to make it, people like have to make shit loose in case there's something better comes around. Like, I remember as a kid, I feel like my generation, there was a cutoff of actually like living like a old school life. I think I was like the cutoff, because we would tell friends like, okay, let's meet at this spot, and we weren't texting, we didn't have any of that, and you had to commit. So all of a sudden 7 p.m. rolls around and you guys made plans to be at the movies. Even if you didn't want it, you just had to do it. Yeah. And you'd end up having fun, because otherwise you're ditching your friends and all that. Yeah. It was just,
people do that. People, which I've had done, and there are times when I've done it to other people, and I caught myself, and I realized how rude of a fucking thing it is to do to another human being, which is to. And I've had women do this to me a bunch too, and that's where when I did it, I was like, "Oh, you'll like those bitches that you don't like," which is they put you in a system where they're going, oh, I'm going to keep you around if my good plans don't come through.
Right.
You're a backup plan, which is a horrible thing to do to a human being.
Yeah.
To leave them as a backup plan. It's funny. I had this realization of maturity through watching porn, right? And I try not to watch anymore because I think it's bad for me and for a lot of people. But you ever watch porn and you go, I'm just going to wait for the perfect video. And just searching. Right. And you go, what is the perfect video? Yeah. Well, you're looking for the perfect video to come to. And you go, when am I going to find the perfect video? And you keep searching and searching. You're like, and then you come across a great video. And you go, this is an amazing video. And you go, I'll find a better video. Yep. And you go, this was the video. And you keep searching. And after who knows how long, 15, 20 minutes, you go right back and nut to the video that you like to begin with.
Dude.
And I'm at an age now where I find the good video and I go, splooge.
Yeah.
I don't splooge. I don't go, hey, I'm going to find something better. I go, this is what I've been looking for.
Right. And that's not settling. That's enjoying that moment.
Settling, I guess, is the wrong... Settling is a dirty word we use.
I think that's like you're doing actually what's true to you, and then you're trying to find that other stuff. But that's such a great microcosm for life.
Yeah,
in porn.
I've noticed it with women. Sometimes I'd find a girl and I'd fuck shit up, and then I go, if I find someone I'm looking for, right? I found someone I'm happier with, and I'm developing something with, and I go, wait a minute. I had to check myself, and I go, is this good? And I go, yeah, it is. And I go, then why? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? Mm-hmm. What do you? And in my head, I'm like, well, I need this and I need this, and I go, do you?
Yeah.
Do you, dickhead?
Right.
I gotta have these talks with myself.
And no matter who you are, you're attracted, not attracted, but you think other people are hot, regardless. So if Pete Davidson is with Kim Kardashian, he still knows fucking Jennifer Lopez is hot. There's always that. But when you get older and shit, or when you find someone, you can really be like, it's like what you said, that girl, she was good looking after the show last night, but you didn't want to, you're like, but you, the personality. Mm-hmm. And that stuff I think is super important, and the support and all that. Because when you find someone that you make decisions for to benefit them, but you realize that you find a respect in yourself, I think that's a person that is good to be with.
Oh, man. We're going deep. I'm over here talking about how meeting a wife is like finding a perfect porn video, and Matt's just dropping fucking Zen gems.
Zen gems. That's the name of my memoir.
You want to have a family? Have you thought that far ahead?
Yeah, I want kids.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to go through with it, huh? Mm-hmm. Not many. I talk to a lot of people that are just kind of so terrified of them these days, of going through with it.
It would just be cool, if I have a kid, and I have a bunch of nieces and nephews now, and that totally made me want to have a kid.
Made me want to have one too.
It's just I want to be able to pick up a ball and throw it to something I made and then throw it back. I think that shit would just be insane. I created that, and I was having an interaction with me. Yeah. Yeah,
it's like when one of your jokes you create works on stage, except it's a human being.
Right? No, exactly. You're like, shit, I created this, and now you're all enjoying it.
This is my art, okay? So you better do well in life, assuming you raise them right. Mm-hmm. What I think is great about kids is watching someone discover something for the first time. Yeah. Like watching a kid listen to music for the first time and dance for the first time. Because all these things that are beautiful in life, we've told ourselves are just trivial. Right. No, man, a sunrise is pretty fucking badass. Yeah. All right? It's like when someone goes oh, how many times can you hike? And it's like, well, how many fucking times can you see the face of God? Right. Right? I'm good with seeing that an infinite amount of times. I would it's always amazing. Music is great. Life is great. Food is great. Fucking is great. Love is great. All right? Yeah. These are great things, but after we just do them enough that we go, oh, it's like when you were a kid and you had those first experiences.
Yeah.
And whenever I was like getting fucked up, I was trying to relive those experiences.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
I was always, I remember when I got sober from booze, my uncle always told me, he goes, look, every time you get drunk, here's what you're looking for. He goes, remember when you first were getting fucked up? Remember when you like, for me, I was 17, 18 going into college and just making friends. He goes, no matter how drunk you get in your 30s, no matter how drunk you are at a bar, no matter how good the bachelor party is, it's never going to be what it felt like that first time you and your friends got a ball of booze when you were 15, 16. And you were just walking down the street drunk.
Right.
And fucking Bobby's rolling over in a trash barrel. And you're like, fuck you, dude. He goes, it'll never be that good. And that's what you're chasing.
Right.
You're chasing that. All right. And once you realize, that's what I realized with like kids and stuff is like all these things when you're chasing. If you ever meet someone, ever have any friends or people you know who just can't grow up because they can't let go of childhood, because and it's like, oh no, man, like that thing, you can still have that thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like I remember being, I just out of high school or something. I remember we were all like drinking, and I remember I went to a friend's house, and I clicked the doorbell at the house, and there's a bush right next to the door, and I remember ringing the doorbell, and then I just went kush and just ate it like right into the tree, and I was just done. And so they opened the door, and I'm not even there, and all my friends are in the back laughing, and it's like those memories and that shit when you're like younger, it is funny, it is fun, and I can see how someone would want to chase that. But if you're 40 and you click that button and you're falling over, it's like, oh shit,
it's not the same thing.
No.
Well, it's also, I think people make this mistake with growing up, like because Western society worships youth. Yeah. All right, we allow teenagers to have opinions, and it's like, no, shut the fuck. You don't know shit. Shut up. Imagine if you were on a job site, right, and the apprentice was telling the fucking steward what to do. Right. Like the new guy, the intern is telling the CEO how to run the company. That's what our society is like when we allow young people and college kids to be like, yeah, have your opinions, but the idea that we should value them as much or follow them, no, shut up. You don't know shit, man. You haven't lived.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because people, I find, fear getting older, and I've enjoyed the shit out of it.
I like it.
There's a clarity to it. There's a self reassurance to it, and you go, look at all these mistakes and just shit you've done. You know how to get through that now. Like, I think it's great to be able to get older and work on dreams and see that evolve.
A lot of people don't get to grow older. Right? That's the beauty of it. Is you get to manifest. Getting older is, I look at youth in high school as like, it's the beginning of the roller coaster. You're just going up. The ride isn't even, you're just getting ready, and then the ride starts. So to want the best part of the roller coaster to be the going up is weird to me. And I think it's a societal thing, because if you ever listen to classic rock or a lot of country music, just actually listen to the lyrics. Every song is, those were the best days of my life. Every song is about how being 15 or 16 was the greatest thing ever. Yeah. And every fucking, like, whenever I'm on a job site, I hear classic rock and country music, and it's always about how being a teenager in high school was the best life could ever be. And I'm like, well, no wonder you're not happy.
Yeah, not even.
If that's what you think the pinnacle of life is, then you are permanent. You can never have that back. You are permanently going to be depressed and chasing something you can never have.
Yeah. I never fell for that, man. Because I would be in high school, I'm like, I can't wait to start this dream and comedy and go to all these places. And yeah, I mean, if someone's listening and they're in high school, this is not the best time of your life, man.
No, it's not even like...
Not even close.
It's you don't know you are, you don't know what you like, and even then, like when you're hooking up, it's not like you're having fun. You're like, everyone's bragging about all the dudes who were like, dude, I fucking got laid last night. And I was a virgin at the time, and I was like, oh, you mean you drunkenly flopped your dick around in that girl at the frat party for 5 minutes?
Right.
And that's the story you hold on to for the next 8 years?
Yeah.
Dude, shut up. Get out of here.
Yeah, it's so fucking true, man. Dude, do these headphones work?
Yeah, you can use them if you want.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. That'd be so weird at this point to be like, can I use these? No.
So where do you see, having a family and doing comedy fit into this whole thing?
See, I feel like back in the day, people are like, it's comedy or family.
Yeah, they did. I don't agree with that, but
me either. And now, if you look at the biggest comics in the world, they all have families.
Yeah.
Times have changed because people aren't out till 3 a.m. doing cocaine and going nuts and causing mayhem anymore.
Yeah, we don't have the money and the time to do it.
Right. And we've just learned that all our heroes died doing that, So like, I think people aren't appealed to that as much anymore. So my whole thing is just to be able to create that life, to be able to do that, because I'd say the average person who's working 9 to 5, there's a limited time to be able to be with your kids and have that energy. Mm-hmm. Making a living doing stand-up, all day is open. You can be with your kids, drive them to school, all that. And it's the nights and then obviously weekends that are busy. But I would rather be with my kid all week and away weekends out of the year, or to places where I could bring them on the weekends so they have these new experiences, opposed to the other life. So I've never understood, and people that I've talked to that have gone on and made a great living with stand-up, it really seems like you can make it the best life for you, your family, and the kids for what we're doing in entertainment. And yeah, that's the goal, man, is to maintain that. And I would probably put kids through school. This is all just maybes.
Yeah, no.
Like in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But I would love to be able to also have like a apartment in California and do that. I know a few people who live in wherever, but then they have an apartment in New York or LA, and they're there all the time. And I think that that's a type of life I want to do.
I'm definitely who knows? Like maybe things don't happen. Maybe they do. But if I do, my hope is to go homeschooling. If I can be home during the day, absolutely homeschool them. I'm not a fan of school. Like you, I was a good student, but I hated school.
Yeah.
And after I got out of school, I go, oh, dude, this was just a public indoctrination center to make me view the world a way that I didn't view it.
Yeah.
And to crush out the thoughts I had, the opinions I had, and to make me, a kid with all this energy, to shut up and sit down for 8 hours a day so I could get ready to shut up and sit down for 8 hours a day at a job.
Yep. That's a big thing. My whole life I was told to sit still and shut up.
Yeah.
And I am so happy I never did.
Yeah.
Because, that's not who I am. And I would probably be miserable.
Yeah.
Wearing a fucking shirt and tie every day going, this is what my boss said or whatever the fuck, I just, you gotta, it's not easy to get there, but it's fucking worth it.
It absolutely is worth it. So what's next for you? Like, how's the podcast going?
Yeah, so I'm taking a hiatus with the pod, and I'm going to switch some things up. I did it for 5 years, found out some things that were great that worked with it and whatever, and after the pandemic, I kind of brought the pod back, made it new, okay? And then I realized my goal, if to do something with a podcast, is something like this, talking with comedians and whatever, which I did parts of, but as you know, booking can become a whole thing.
It's a motherfucker.
Right. And I someday will probably go back to doing a podcast, and I would love it to be just talking to entertainers.
Yeah.
But for now, with time and energy and resources, I think the best move is create stuff for my YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and stuff of videos of the weekends at shows. And like when I come here and do a podcast with you, like behind the scenes shit or whatever the fuck, and create those moments and share that with people. I think it's much more, I'm still going to call it, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But more of like a vlog and video type thing opposed to the podcast for now. But I will go back, and then it's still a way to interact with comics and have people on that, like who I'm doing the show with or something like this, and still be with friends and all that. But that's what I'm doing now.
Platforms change, man. And I know my podcast has it's suffered because I'm focusing more on that. I only have enough time in a day,
right,
between stand up, trying to make money, focusing on like making content, like, and I'm like, there's a part of me that the thing I've had to come to terms with is this is your job, this is what you do,
right.
And then someone calls me up and they go, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm making TikToks."
Yeah,
I'm a 35-year-old man making TikToks.
But
right
it's
now.
important. You have to, man.
But it is. And someone,
dude, the biggest names in comedy are putting out reels and TikToks. That's just what it is now. The whole thing has changed.
After what took me forever, I'm starting a new YouTube, a travel YouTube, and dude, it took me. I spent a week in a library, just getting out a trailer that's going to be 3 minutes, like hours each day, just pulling from dozens of hours worth of footage, and I go, oh, this is it. I think this is good, because it's not just me what I'm doing here with you. It's me doing this with a guy on the side of a road in fucking rural Colombia.
Wow,
talking about
that's
shit.
Cool.
And,
that's really cool.
That kind of stuff and those experiences. I ran into this guy from Venezuela in Bogota on a street, and of course my fucking battery ran out, and we started talking, and we just had a philosophical conversation about life and porn addiction and Jesus. Right? I'm just sitting on the street, talking with this Venezuelan dude, trying to get me to go into a Mexican restaurant about fucking porn. He's like, dude, yeah, I know pastors and even they can't get off the porn, man. And he's like, he's very, very religious dude. I'm a spiritual dude. And he was trying to get me to go to church, and I was like, I'm good there. But it was just such a funny, to have that with a random dude on the side of the road.
I gotta be honest, that's one of my favorite parts of stand-up.
Yeah.
Traveling and like going to play like Wyoming. Like, why would I ever be there?
Oh, you and Brian went out there, right?
Yeah, that was
How was that?
It was one of the best fucking weekends of my life.
Yeah.
But just having those moments and talking to people there, and then like, I don't know, just going throughout the country and doing shows and meeting people. Those conversations, I'm like, this is worth the stand-up dream alone, meeting all these people. And you really do find out that people are just trying their best, man. And like, they want to go out, they want to have a good time. And for the most part, like, I don't know, I feel like people are good, and you can like find that in them. And I love having those conversations with like Sheila from Idaho in some nowhere town who owns like some ranch. And it's like, why would I ever have this conversation with this person? And you see all these perspectives of life, and that shit is just the fucking best.
Dude, last night in Manchester, New Hampshire, I'm doing a show. There's people there from New Orleans, from Atlanta, Georgia, from rural Pennsylvania, from central rural New Jersey. There's a chick there from Uruguay. And I get to practice my Spanish on stage.
Nice.
All right? And I'm planning a trip to South America with my girl, and now I get to ask this woman about where to travel in Uruguay, right? And I go, I wouldn't have had this opportunity otherwise. I'd just be up there playing with my dick in the mountains, Both are good, but I got to find a balance, you know?
Absolutely. It's fun meeting people, and I don't know. I just fucking love it.
Shit. Well, I guess we can wrap up here, man. Thanks for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me. I love this. This place is cool. My bladder's gonna fucking explode. But
well, before you run and take an amazing piss, where can people find you?
TikTok, which by the way used to feel like a sellout doing this, but it's so a part of it now that I'm like, no, go follow this shit. Like,
dude, I'm TikTok is the only account I'm successful on.
Yeah. It helps fucking. It's great. So TikTok, Matthew P. Brown, Instagram, Matt P. Brown, and YouTube. I'm trying to get that going.
As
which is another whole thing. It's all part of it now. No matter who you are, that's just Matthew P. Brown as well. So, yeah.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You're the best.